Before we begin, understand this clearly. War does not reward comfort. It rewards whatever keeps a man alive one more night, one more mile, one more battle. During World War II, soldiers on every front developed survival methods that worked frighteningly well. Some were brutal. Some were dangerous. Some violated medical rules, supply regulations, or even international law. Many saved lives in the short term. Most were quietly erased after the war. Official manuals tell one story. Veterans' letters, diaries, and after-action reports tell another. In foxholes, jungles, deserts, and frozen forests, soldiers learned quickly that textbook survival often failed under real pressure. So they adapted, they improvised, and sometimes those methods worked too well. Today we are going to examine the survival tricks that kept men alive when nothing else worked, and why modern militaries no longer allow them. How battlefield reality forced soldiers to break official rules. Military training before World War II was built around supply chains, discipline, and predictable support. Soldiers were supposed to receive food, medicine, ammunition, and shelter on schedule. In real combat, those systems collapsed constantly. Why, you might be wondering, were extreme cold and heat adaptations so restricted? In those frozen regions, soldiers came up with some, rather unofficial methods to prevent frostbite. Some wrapped their feet in newspaper, animal fat, or even grease. Others, believe it or not, actually urinated on their boots to stop them from freezing. These methods, though, only worked for a short while, and unfortunately caused long-term damage. In deserts, when things got truly desperate, soldiers would drink from radiator water, engine coolant, or chemically treated supplies. It kept them alive, sure, but it absolutely destroyed their kidneys. Command ended up banning these practices because, frankly, they caused permanent injuries. But often they were the only option available. The modern lesson here is, quite clear. Understand proper insulation, hydration, and temperature management before a crisis strikes. Some of the most controversial banned techniques, involved close-quarters combat and stealth survival. Commandos and resistance fighters, for instance, developed ways for silent movement, improvised weapons, and ambush tactics that were just too dangerous for general troops. These included things like garrote tools, sharpened entrenching tools, and modified bayonets. They were, without a doubt, effective. But they also led to uncontrolled violence and, sadly, war crimes when misused. After the Second World War, most armies restricted this sort of training to elite units. Ordinary soldiers were simply no longer taught these skills. From a civilian standpoint, it really highlights the importance of situational awareness and avoidance, not confrontation. So, why were equipment modifications quietly outlawed? Soldiers were always modifying their gear. Helmets were padded with cloth, rifles shortened, packs stripped down, boots altered, anything to make life a bit more bearable. Some troops even added homemade suppressors, modified triggers, and reloaded ammunition right there in the field. These practices did improve performance, but honestly, they also caused accidents. Post-war militaries banned unauthorized modifications to reduce liability and maintain standardization. Today, preparedness means customizing equipment carefully and safely, not dangerously. Now, when it comes to psychological survival tricks, mental survival mattered just as much as physical. Soldiers developed rituals, superstitions, and all sorts of coping mechanisms. Some talked to themselves, some carried lucky objects, and some deliberately numbed their emotions. Many units tolerated alcohol misuse, gambling, and even black market trading because, well, it stabilized morale. After the war, militaries tried to professionalize mental health and outlaw these coping systems. The lesson today is that mental resilience really does matter. Routine, purpose, and stress management are survival tools in their own right. So, why were these methods buried after the war? Well, governments wanted disciplined, controllable armies. Improvisation threatened the hierarchy, and dangerous survival tricks threatened the public image. So, manuals were rewritten, stories were sanitized. Veterans were, more often than not, discouraged from discussing these unofficial methods. But you know, history preserved them in memoirs and archives. Now, how can you apply these lessons without breaking the law? The value isn't in copying forbidden tactics. It's in understanding the mindset. Learn first aid properly, learn food preservation, learn temperature management, learn equipment maintenance, and of course, learn stress control. Build skills before emergencies. That's exactly what Second World War soldiers did under fire. These survival tricks, at the end of the day, were born in desperation. They were effective because they addressed reality, not theory. And they were banned because they were dangerous, uncontrollable, and frankly, politically inconvenient. But the lessons behind them, well, they remain vital. If you value real wartime history and practical self-reliance, do consider subscribing to this channel, share this video with fellow enthusiasts, and help keep this hard-earned knowledge alive.